The police were guiding us through the city because there were certain streets you just couldn't go up or come down. So we was coming up Pennsylvania Avenue from Saratoga, Frankfurt Street. They had changed us over to Frankfurt Street, and we was coming up Frankfurt on up to Pennsylvania Avenue and then straight up. So as we were coming up Pennsylvania Avenue, we saw the people. They were rioting. They were tearing up stores and carrying out furniture, and the stores that had clothes and stuff, they were coming out with clothes. They were going into just about every business that was along Pennsylvania Avenue. They took something out of.
Now, was these white-owned businesses?
These were all, sadly to say, my own people.
Wow, these were black-owned businesses.
These were black-owned businesses,
Wow.
as well as, well, we had a lot of Jewish people who had businesses
okay.
on Pennsylvania Avenue, but they had black folks running the
them.
businesses.
Okay.
Now, several of the business now, the clothing stores and the men's hat shop, they were Jewish owned.
Okay.
And they went in and they took hats and they took jewelry, the furniture, and everything like that. Basically, the black-owned businesses on Pennsylvania Avenue were the restaurants, and they had a couple of bars. There was a Chinese joint that they tore that up.
No.
And they just basically, it was like chaos. It was like you were in a place where everybody had gone crazy. It's like everybody had hit a panic button and they had had enough. So they just destroyed stuff. You know, I sit down, and after I had got home, and I talked to several of the neighbors, and the only thing they kept saying is the one person that could keep peace and bring some sanity to all this mess, they had killed. And so that evening I came home and I sit down and I talked to my mother at that time. I was just trying to make sense of all the things that was going on, you know, the hatred, the fear, you know, and the fear came about because we knew the police was going to come, and they were going to lock up a lot of people, whether they did anything or not, you know. And then the next thing we heard was that they had called in the National Guard.
Yep.
We had National Guard trucks with soldiers on them getting out in the blocks, and they were walking around with rifles and stuff like that. It was just like you were in a third world country, and they had declared where they shut you down and you can't come out.
Yep.
They put a curfew on
Yeah, the curfew.
how long you can stay out.
People were arrested too if they
Yep,
went past the curfew.
People were arrested. If you came out in the morning to go to work or something like that, you had to be able to prove that you was going to your job.
Wow.
Because I had to leave, I had to be to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, which meant I had to catch 2 buses in order to get to work. So I had to leave the house anywhere between 6 o'clock and 6:30 in order to get to work on time. So I had to show them my ID that I worked at City Hospital. And I had to show them at that time you had to carry your Social Security card with your name on it. So you had to have some type of identification to show who you were and that you worked at a hospital. Well, what helped was the fact that we had to wear uniforms.
Okay.
So I had my white uniform on, and I had my badge. So I could go head on and catch the bus and go to work. Went to work, worked that day, came back home. And this is 2 days, this is the second day after Martin Luther King had been killed.
Mhm.
When I left work that day to come home, that's when they told us that they were shutting down the city completely. The only way you could be out on the street at all is if you had a job that was an emergency. So what they did was, instead of letting us come home, we had to stay and work an extra shift. So I had to work from 7 o'clock that morning to 11 o'clock that night. And when I got off from work, I had to have one of the service guys in their truck, in their caravan little truck, to take us a certain way, a certain distance from the hospital.
Wow.
Because we were in an area that was strictly all white, they had to get us past that area, which was Eastern Avenue at that time, up to the end of Pennsylvania Avenue. From there, they let you out, and you had to get home the best way you could. Well, you were in your own black neighborhoods then, so they figured you were probably safe. Okay, but they did caravan us to that area. It was bad times doing that. We had fought so hard to be able to go to a restaurant, to be able to sit down at a counter in order to order a meal. Now all of a sudden, the main person who had given us some of these freedoms were dead. We were lost. It was the same as if you had killed the president, and the whole United States was all turned upside down. People were scared. We knew that if something didn't happen soon, that we would be right back where we started from, with nobody to try to show us,
The way.
to help us to get what was rightfully ours.
Right.
You know? And it's hard. It's hard. The only thing I have to say to end this interview is that young people, don't take advantage of what you have. Because if you ever lose it, you'll never get it back again. It's good to be able to go into any store that you want to go into any shop that you want to go into, to be able to get on any bus that you want to get onto, and don't have to be shoved to the back or go down to a basement to try on some clothes. You couldn't try them on. You had to buy what you needed. And what you needed, if it didn't fit, you better find a needle and a thread or something to make it fit, because you couldn't take it back. You have so many liberties now. Don't mess it up. Go to school, get a good education, find yourself a nice job, and if not, start businesses where you can hire your own people. You know, and young folks, stop all this foolishness, because you're not doing anything but hurting yourselves, so that you can have a future for your children. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.